Okay, so we just talked about the stages of a woman's cycle. I thought it might be appropriate now to discuss seed cycling, which has become popular in some circles. And so we're going to discuss whether it's factual or fallacy and whether it's something you should consider for a client. So first of all, what is it? It's a theory that by eating certain seeds throughout the monthly cycle that they can help balance estrogen and progesterone. There are different versions of it, but the most common is 1 tablespoon each of ground flax and pumpkin seeds consumed days 1 to 14, which they call, those who advocate the theory, the follicular phase. We just talked about that day 1 to 10 is follicular, and that after that they're actually including the ovulation phase in this scenario. And then a tablespoon each of ground sunflower and sesame seeds are consumed the rest of the cycle until the persons get their period. And it's usually recommended for women who are going through menopause or women who need to balance their menstrual cycles. So why are flax seeds recommended? They're high in lignans, which are phytoestrogens, which can help balance high or low estrogen. So if you have high estrogen in your blood, then a phytoestrogen can lock onto a receptor site on a cell, preventing the estrogen from doing so, and therefore it forces the estrogen to be detoxed out. This is assuming you have a good detoxification pathway with regard to your liver and your gut. And if you have low estrogen, in the case of a lot of women in menopause, the phytoestrogen can lock onto receptor cells and trick the cell into thinking the estrogen is there. So in areas where estrogen is merely a signal, like for example, it'll lock onto the cells that help you make bone. Once it locks on, it triggers the bone making process. So if something locks on, like the phytoestrogen, it can do the same thing. Why are pumpkin seeds recommended? They're high in zinc, which apparently can promote progesterone production. Why sesame seeds? High in lignans, again, which are phytoestrogens. And so they're kind of doing the same thing as the flax seeds. And then why sunflower seeds? There wasn't a lot of information as to why. It could possibly be the selenium, which helps the liver, but it's not really clear why they're recommending sunflower seeds. Now, just looking at this on its face value, again, this is assuming someone is high in estrogen. This is why they're recommending the flax seeds, to try and get excess estrogens out. But what's the difference between having sesame seeds high in lignans or flax seeds high in lignan? You're getting phytoestrogens all throughout the month in this scenario. You're doing that anyway, but that's for a different reason. Now, all of these seeds are good sources of vitamin E as well as fiber, which is also recommended for helping to balance things out, as well as other vitamins and minerals that are good for reproductive health. So there's nothing wrong with taking any of these foods. They're very beneficial. There is research indicating that seeds have anti-cancer properties because of the phytoestrogens, so there's lots of research on that. There also have numerous health benefits, so most foods have been researched in some capacity or another. But there's little evidence that they balance hormones. However, phytoestrogens have been shown to help those with low estrogen, so that has been studied. Mainly because, as I mentioned, they lock onto the estrogen receptor sites and trick the body into thinking the estrogen is there. The same mechanism also blocks real estrogen, as I mentioned, from taking up receptors, and this means it will have no place to go but to be detoxed out. That's actually not true, but it does have some place to go and go to your fat cells, and sometimes does. But it may be helpful with excess estrogen situations. And it's this kind of information that bothers me quite a bit because they're assuming the liver can handle this. And they're assuming the gut isn't going to recycle the estrogen, which the gut can do. So without looking at a functional perspective and looking to balance the systems and the areas of the body that are out of balance, you're not really going to know if you're going to get the benefits that are suspected to be present for a given food, such as these seeds. So it is a very speculative theory. This is a chart showing you phytoestrogens. Okay, so you got two types. You've got your steroidal phytoestrogens, or what they call phytosteroids, and you've got your non-steroidal phytoestrogens. You can see there are 5 different types. You've got the lignans here, and there's 4 different types of those. There's stilbenes, which is like something like resveratrol and red wine, egalitannins, which I believe are in things like green tea. You got your coumestans, which are in a lot of things. They are a derivative of coumarin, which is in a number of herbs and legumes and all kinds of cool foods. And then you got your flavonoids, and flavonoids are, you know, you got them in berries, you've got them in your soy, isoflavones, there's your soy, other legumes, nuts, seeds. You know, flavonoids are in a lot of foods. So when you look at this list, picking on sesame and flax as your source of phytoestrogen isn't really telling the whole story of what someone eats when someone has a whole food diet. These things over here, your phytosteroids, they're basically plant sterols, which is sort of the plant's version of cholesterol. And again, not a lot is known about what these are and what they do, but they are being studied, and I'm sure we'll find out more, but a lot of them have a lot of benefits. So again, this is just, you know, this whole idea that somehow phytoestrogens are estrogen isn't true, and they actually have a lot of benefits for us on a number of levels. So as I said, there's 6 different types, the 5 that were the non-steroidal and the 1 that is the steroidal type. And consuming a whole food diet would give a woman plenty of phytoestrogens. Like, they don't need to pick flax or sesame. But unfortunately, when it comes to phytoestrogens that have been studied in depth, it's only the lignans and the isoflavones, which are found in soy and other legumes. So this is why you tend to have them getting the blame for having phytoestrogens and the praise for having phytoestrogens. But it's all kind of silly since these phytoestrogens are in so many different foods. And this is an assumption made by many practitioners because they don't really know food. So they think that's all there is, right? So they take their information from the scientific community, only taking pieces of it, first of all, but second of all, they're just basically taking it from the scientific community, and they really don't know the benefits of a good, well-crafted food protocol for delivering all kinds of different nutrients. Now, another theory of seed cycling, if you want to call it, it's not technically not seeds, but anyway, is with regard to a substance called GLA. And if you look on the right-hand side here, you're going to, maybe this will resonate with you. You've seen this before. If not, it's important to know. So when we take omega-3 and omega-6, the 2 essential fatty acids, in plant form, they are ALA and LA, we as humans, in our liver, hence the picture of the liver, have to convert them to, in the case of omega-3, EPA and then DHA, and in the case of omega-6, GLA, then DGLA, and then ARA, or sometimes it says AA, stands for arachidonic acid. Now, omega-6 gets a bad rap because there's this assumption if you consume a lot of omega-6, you're going to get a lot of ARA, which, by the way, you do need for brain function and many other things in your body. But ARA can also promote a prostaglandin called PG2, which is inflammatory. Whereas DGL promotes a prostaglandin known as PG1, which is anti-inflammatory, as does GLA. And over here on the omega-3 side, DHA promotes a prostaglandin known as PG3, which is also anti-inflammatory. And you need all of these. You need all of these. This is why we convert the plant-based omega-3 and omega-6 into these substances. But GLA is the one that has been touted to be for a benefit for hormones, right? Now, if you get animal sources of EFAs like egg yolks, butter, cod liver, they're going to have all of these in there. They're already ready for us to use and converted. So GLA has mainly been studied, has many studied benefits, but the main was the ability, like EPA from omega-3, so this is here, to promote promotion of PG2, and again, it converts to DHA first, and this is the to prevent the promotion of PG2, the inflammatory prostaglandin promoted by arachidonic acid. Okay, so that's basically what I was just talking about. There are other plant compounds other than evening primrose oil that contain a small amount of GLA. So you've got borage, perilla, blackcurrant seed oil, and evening primrose oil, which all have 10% GLA already converted in the plant. And you also get it in things like chlorella, spirulina, but those are organisms, they're technically not plants. And then taking one of these through the whole cycle makes more sense than just 2 weeks. So the way that this evening primrose oil cycling went was that you took evening primrose oil for hormone balance in the first part of the cycle, the second part of the cycle, and flax oil at the beginning part. So you're getting the phytoestrogens and the lignans at the beginning, and then you're getting this GLA in the second part. Again, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And the presumption is that the issues related to PMS and the period only start in the last 2 weeks, which is why you would be getting the GLA. And I've said this before, I'll say it again, it's a cycle and the whole cycle counts. So I found this one, blackcurrant seed oil, to be the most effective when I was working with my clients. And it's partly because it has omega-3 in it as well. So it's not just omega-6 with this 10% GLA. And the studies have found that a combination of GLA and EPA work best for inflammation. So, for example, one of the symptoms I found it was really helpful was the breast tenderness that a lot of women get. Usually it starts at the time of ovulation and stops when they have their period. But in some cases, they might have it for the whole cycle until they have their period. I found with blackcurrant seed oil, it worked the best at that. But there may be others who are recommending evening primrose oil or borage oil or perilla oil, evening primrose oil being the most commonly recommended. So even though this blackcurrant seed oil has omega-3 and not EPA, it has to be converted. We're going to assume that some of it got converted because that seems to be why it works so well. But it doesn't really matter, it also had the GLA. So that's just my recommendation. Now, for seed cycling to truly work and be the reason someone might see an improvement, it would have to be the only thing the client was doing. So the practitioners that are recommending seed cycling are also recommending many other things in conjunction. It's just one thing that they're doing. And therefore, whatever improvements someone may see cannot be attributed to the seed cycling alone, right? So you need to ask yourself, is this the kind of suggestion you want a client to have to add to their protocol when there are so many other things you would like them to do? Think about that. A tablespoon each of 4 different seeds every day. Oh, sorry, two different seeds every day, and then 2 other seeds for the latter part of the cycle. So they're going to have 2 tablespoons of ground seeds. And I'm sure they're telling them, oh yeah, just sprinkle them on your food. Okay, they're telling you to sprinkle them on your food. It means it's because it's a food. And therefore, why not just eat the food or eat the sunflower seeds? Or, you can use them. There's nothing wrong with them. They're very good for you. So just consume them in the diet, but they don't have to do so formally. And so I'm hoping this helps you understand that seed cycling isn't really a reality. There is no research to support its use, but there's nothing wrong with eating the seeds. And I'm hoping that's what I was able to convey to you. The key to a successful protocol is the client's ability to follow it in for the long term. And hormone balance requires permanent change, and therefore the protocol has to be livable. You can't fix your liver and fix your gut and support your adrenals for a short period of time, balance out the hormones, and then go right back to doing whatever you were doing before. But what they end up learning to do has to work for their lifestyle and for them. And adding any unnecessary steps to a protocol or implying, and this is what I really don't like about it, it implies that there's a medicinal dosage to a food. Right? They're literally saying take 1 tablespoon of this and 1 tablespoon of that these days, and then do this tablespoon and this tablespoon those days. That is medicinal practice, and they're applying it to a food like it's a drug. And I think that's a huge mistake in terms of what the client needs to hear, and it's wrong because the foods don't work that way. Women will respond best to a whole food protocol that has a number of foods that support all the players we've been talking about that need to be supported. And when they start functioning better, the women will start functioning better.